What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Mindshare podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, as well as REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. Learn more about our sponsor by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to grab your free copy of my book, The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching program. Also, when you get there, you're going to see a pop-up about our upcoming Mindshare Mastermind in Toronto. Here's what you need to know. We're hosting a two-day Mindshare in Toronto on May 29th and 30th. We're going to be going from about 8:30 in the morning to approximately 4:35-ish p.m. on both days with an awesome night out on day one. You've got the chance to be there with me and a few very special friends of mine. We're going to be diving deep, and we're going to be going into the driving forces behind what it's going to take to propel you to your next level of success. And I got to tell you, this is one of those rooms that you really want to be in. Mindset, marketing, systems, branding, communication, culture, resilience. It's going to be powerful. Be sure to get yourself registered. And so you know, we lucked out hard. The room block at the hotel has been extended once again. It does extend until end of this week or the next few days. Just beyond that, event registration will be closing shortly thereafter. So your time is running out. Don't wait any longer. Make it happen. Let's do this. Today's episode is number 230. She is committed to providing unparalleled service, saying that every client has a story. And that's what fuels her desire to work her hardest for them. She says, there's something very powerful about handing over the keys to a family or a couple that never thought they'd be able to own their own home. Where there's a will, there's a way, and I will find it. She has the innate ability to naturally connect with people and cultivate long-lasting relationships from the ground up that is built on trust and integrity. She is also a real estate investor herself, purchasing properties long before becoming a real estate agent. She understands the complexities and shares the challenges of all aspects of real estate market, having successfully managed her own real estate portfolio and currently owning her own investment properties. She continues to invest in various properties from pre-construction condos to rundown investment properties, turning them into dream homes for short-term rental opportunities, making her an Airbnb guru. She's also a very proud supporter of the College of Montrose Children's Place, which is a family resource program offering free programs to over 2,500 families. Her desire to help others and make a difference extends not only to the clients she serves, but her community at large. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is real estate broker Carla Corsi.
Hi.
Carla, welcome to the
Wow,
Mindshare podcast.
that's a fabulous intro. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's you know what? I'm excited to have you on the show today. I know that you and I get to have a lot of different conversation.
Mhm.
And one thing that I'm just going to like right off the hop, just open up with, and everybody needs to understand this, that one of the driving forces for me behind having Carla here is, and as we titled today's show, very specifically speaking, in fact, let's throw this up on the screen right here. But how to find your strength and perseverance no matter what's in your way. And you know, it's maybe a fluffy title, but I'll tell you where it really came from for me is the fact that, and Carla, I've said this to you personally, obviously many times, but that unwavering, relentless mindset that you've got for that hard work, that hustle, that like, I'm doing it, we're doing this, let's go. I give you a ton of accolades for that. I love the mentality, and like no matter what happens in life, because we all have stuff that's going to kick our butt here and there. You just got this tenacity about you. And I want everybody, people that don't know you to understand that, because that's where we're coming from today is like, is that. So anyways, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You've had some amazing guests on here, and I'm just honored to be part of the lineup. So thank you.
Yeah, we certainly been lucky, and we get to have you on today as well. So
Thank
tell me
you.
this, I'm curious. And I know the story, so I thought maybe we'd set the stage here and kind of, you know, for you, we don't have to go into much details, but it's like, you know, the career to real estate wasn't the first place you were sort of planting your feet. What were you doing just before real estate?
No, it wasn't. Just before real estate, 25 years of my life was committed to the city of Toronto in the public service sector. And I did that for many, many years, started when I was early 20s, and kind of, made my way through the ranks, and picked up the real estate probably about 10 years ago when I wanted to buy my own investment property. And I knew I was like real estate. I liked going through open houses, snooping through people's houses. So I thought, you know what? I think this is something I like to do. And I love negotiating. I love people. So it just aligned. And once I bought my first investment property, then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my license. So my kids were really, really young at that age, or like babies. And so I'd go to work during the day, and then I'd go to the library on weekends, and I would stay up at night, and always on my own time, never going into any class. So it was like textbook highlighting. And so, but, we did it. And I did it parallel to my City of Toronto job for many, many years, which was a challenge because I live north of the city. And then, I had to be up really, really early, 4:30 in the morning, to be down to where I needed to be for work. And then
Wow.
go home, cook for the kids, make sure everything was good there, and then fly back down to do real estate. So I was feeling a little bit burnt out. I felt like, oh, like, do I really need to do this? My accountant was like, Carla, seriously, like, you need to pick, right? So, yeah, it just came a time where, you know what, it was time. And it was always lurking in the back of my mind, this is what I'm going to do. And I, thought about what that would look like. And I kind of planned it out and was very strategic about how I would, leave my job. I obviously wasn't going to leave. We all have bills to pay, and you can't just do a fly by night decision. So it had to be very carefully thought out. And once I was in a good place, then it was time. And I never looked back since. It was the best decision ever.
So, see, what I took from all that was there was a lot of hard work going on.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of scheduling that had to happen to be able to make sure that we know exactly where we got to be when we got to be there.
Yep.
We leveraged the support of other people, asking, just getting guidance. And we all have those people in our lives that we work with, and we, from accountants to lawyers to whoever, like just people that we'll go to that's like, hey, like next step, like where are we going? Like talking it out.
Well, you're cutting out there. I can see you talking, but I can't hear you.
How are we doing now? We good?
Oh, you're back.
So again, if that happens again, you can do you. You gotta love technology. I don't know what's happened. I don't know if it's the platform or just the
I don't know.
connection. Every once in a while it happens. So
We're good.
anyhow, what I was saying there though was between the support, the scheduling, the all the stuff you're doing from an investing perspective, were you also investing during all that?
Yeah, I had a property at the time. Yep. So I was doing rentals for that as well. So yeah, it's a lot of juggling around. I know a lot of people thought I was crazy. Like, how do you, like, do you ever sleep? Like, I would get asked,
Right.
like, how do you do it? My kids are well taken care of. They've never been neglected. There's always food cooked. My house is impeccably clean because I'm a little OCD. You just make it happen. I don't know. I just make it happen because it has to happen. So
tell me from an investing perspective, like obviously having another like preoccupied, not in the real estate world necessarily, having a love for it, but not being in it, being preoccupied with other things you were doing. When it came to the actual idea of investment, what was the first step to the investment part of it? Like, where do we go? And again, not to like go down too far in that rabbit hole today, but that idea of like, what was the first step for anybody that might be doing something else right now and they want to invest? Is just go talk to your accountant, find out what kind of money you got, go talk to a mortgage broker, or go find a property. Where did you start that?
Pretty much that. I was like, this is what I want to do. How the hell do I do it? I owned a home. So I knew I had equity in the home. I knew there was something about taking equity out, but I had no clue like what that even looked like.
Right.
So yeah, I called my mortgage broker that helped me with my first condo. And at that time it was like by Zoom or something. It was so like so many years ago. And I'm like, he's not even gonna remember me. So I reached out on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, remember me? He's like, yeah, of course I remember you. So I said, this is what I want to do. Can you help me get there? Like, what do I need to do? So he's like, yeah, I can help you. So I had a meeting with him and he kind of outlined, the steps and the process. And we went looking for a house. So I landed my
Interesting.
first one in Guelph. It was a townhome. It was like 300 at the time. And that didn't require a lot of work, like just pulling out carpet. It was all aesthetic, easy stuff. And right near the university. And I rented it out to a bunch of students. And did that for 2 years, and that was paying itself. And I thought, this is fabulous. So
Was that a disaster renting to students, or was that
yes,
like
it
okay?
was.
It was,
Yeah,
eh?
it
Okay.
was. But the good thing is, they paid all up front. They're international students, so their parents just wrote me a check, and I was done. But yeah, they weren't like the cleanest, but who cares? My mortgage is getting paid for, like, whatever, right? So they were there for 2, 3 years, never had any issues with them. When they left, yeah, it was a bit of a pigsty, but whatever. You just clean it up, and I slap some paint, cleaned up a couple things. My door was damaged. They sent me money for the door. So it was really easy. And then I rented it back out to a beautiful family, and they were there for another 3 years. So I kept it for a really long time, and it always paid my mortgage. I had cash flow at some point, and that was my first introductory property into the investment side of things for me. And I was like, this is amazing. I want more. I want more. I want more. And now I knew what I was doing. So
Is it? But like when you look and say like you thought about the fact that you had equity, is it still possible today to do it the exact same way, or are the banks completely doing it in a different way now?
Oh no, I just did it last year. You can
Okay,
still
cool.
do it.
Love
They
that.
just send an appraiser out, and they,
So if
property.
people want to do any investments or anything,
Yeah.
just call you because you can help them do it.
Yeah.
All right,
Call
there
me,
you
and then I'll
go.
let them know who to call. But yeah.
Tell me this, the transition then. So you were, again, it was like, yo, decision time, you got to do something. We went into real estate sales. What was kind of that deciding factor? And as you sat there thinking to yourself, there's going to be a huge change for me. How did you
Yeah.
get to that point where you're like, I am doing this?
Well, you got to get to the point where you're like, I'm going to do it. Not the, oh, I'm thinking about it. Because I
Right.
already went through all that, right? The thinking about it. But once you're ready to do it, there's like, you're just going to do it. So you're going to find the most logical way to do it. Like, I was leaving a pensionable job for 24 years, right? I was at the height of my career. I loved my job and loved the people. It had its challenges, but that's just background noise for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, people thought I was crazy. They're like, I'm sure I gave my parents sleepless nights many times. They're
Wow.
immigrants trying to find their way, and here's their daughter with a job like this, right? Secure, like they're like, what is wrong?
Throwing it all away.
They're like, is she crazy? Like, how should you pay her mortgage, right? So, but I was in my own conviction, and I was like, I know it's gonna work out because I've been doing it already for so many years, and I know I have what it takes. And yeah, there's fear. I mean, I'm not, subhuman. Like, of course there's fear, but
Sure.
my desire to want a different lifestyle, my desire to have that, sky's the limit, and run my life the way I want to run my life, not get up at 4:30 in the morning because of an alarm, but rather because I want to get up. So all those things actually superseded the fear. And that's, where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm going to find it. That's basically my mentality. Like, okay, well, there's an obstacle there. Well, how do we deal with it? And let's just move on. Right. So everything is very objective.
So hold on,
Especially in that sense.
let's go back on that because I think that's a moment right there for to pay attention to for a second. We looked at the obstacle, we looked at the fear and the resilience,
Hmm.
but you also balance that out by going, but what do I want?
Yes.
And then kind of going, well, I want that. So even though it's giving me these feelings, I know what I want. So I'm going to go for what I want.
Yes. You have to
Do you
have
still
faith in yourself.
do you still have those feelings?
Oh yeah. I never look back. I mean, even when the market was like a little kind of, funny, everyone's like, do you regret like just not? I'm like, no, not at all. Not at all. Because once I make that decision, I've already analyzed everything. I've already thoughtfully put all of my plans in place. So
Yeah.
once I get to that point, there is no turning back. Like, there's no turning back. Like failure is not an option. Just, it's not an option. And thankfully, I've never failed at anything, to the point where I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I have very few regrets in life because I take risks. They're calculated risks, and I think everything through properly. And, for the most part, I've made some very good decisions, in my life, and very few regrets. So that's not bad.
It's interesting though, the way you say that, right? Like
You have to have faith.
I make
You have to
very
have
few
faith.
mistakes or the fail, like that's a
I've made
mindset though.
Yeah, I've
And
made some mistakes, of course. I
we
mean, I'm
all
not
do.
perfect, and
No,
I'm
we
still
all do.
growing.
Right.
Yeah, but
But
nothing
that's
where
the
I'm
point
like
though, right? Is the mindset that you've got on it is like you are confident in the decision that was made.
100%.
Therefore the go forward is like full bore. As
Oh
opposed
yeah.
to make it, waver on it,
Mhm.
maybe don't take action on it, and then don't end up coming out with what you want from it.
If it's in my head, it's gonna happen.
And again, to everybody tuned in, this is what I'm talking about when I said it right off the hop, is like this is her mentality, and I love it. I tell you that all the time. I think it's strong. It's strong. So first deal. Forget about the investment stuff, but I'm talking like you got into real estate. It's like, yo, I'm here. Was it as simple as like get your license and be like, hi? Like, where did your first deal come from?
Oh, so first, yeah. So I got my license, and I'm like, okay, which open house can I do? Like, I've loved open houses. I gotta host it now. So, a friend of mine actually, excuse me, knew a realtor who, was doing an open house in Vaughan, and, I guess she had asked him, or I don't know how it came up, and he's like, "Oh, actually, I have someone that can do the open house for you." So, there I was. So I did it, and, it was great. I felt like I was in my element, like totally good. And I met a couple, and they ended up buying the house.
Oh, nice.
So
At the open house.
yeah, but I forgot to put the pool clause in because it was the pool. So I was like, oh,
Oh my
but
God.
it all worked out afterwards. But hey, first deal, pool, right? So I forgot to put the pool clause in. I was like, whatever. But it ended up working out fine. She was amazing on the other side, and there was no issues, thank God. But yeah, so every time I had a pool deal after that, I was like, okay, I need to put like this, and this. Um, but yeah, I got my first deal off the open house, and then I met another lady at the same open house where I ended up selling her house afterwards, not too far away. So it was great. I got actually 4 deals out of that because then her son bought in Kleinberg
Wow. So
and
you went and
sold.
hosted like one of your first open houses,
So
and there'd be like
one open
four
house
deals.
got me 4 deals my first year.
So I'm curious. Well, I'm curious. I know, but you still host an open house, and what
Oh,
would you
I
say to
love
anybody?
open
What would you
houses.
say to anybody who says they don't work?
I love open houses, but I am like extrovert to the max. So I'm a people person. If the open house is dead, I'm like mad. I'm like, where's everybody?
Yeah.
And I make sure the realtor that is doing the open house, if it's not mine, it's already on realtor like Wednesday. Cause I'm like, why aren't you telling people there's an open house? I love it. I meet people. Since then, I don't think I've had a deal off an open house, but I've met a lot of amazing people that are in my database, and maybe down the road there might be something, but it's just a matter of just talking to people and learning about a new area, because before you do an open house, you don't just show up and say, I'm here. You got to look at whatever's for sale, because if that house is not for them, maybe you can offer them another house down the street. So you have to do a little bit of homework there. And I don't know, it's a fun 2-3 hours for me. I love it. And it works. You meet people.
So what about this idea, just on a quick note on that, when you say like if nobody shows up, you're pissed off about it. Like
Yeah.
what is there anything special that maybe not the secret sauce, but like what do you find is the key to getting people to show up?
Well, the 1 or 2 that were, it was very slow traffic, I did it for another agent. So for me, when I do mine, I blast it on all platforms of social, like almost a week before. I put it on Realtor like on the Wednesday. So people
Mhm.
that are actually motivated buyers who are on realtor.ca, they'll see it. I send it to my database as well, so they know, because they may have people that are looking to buy in that area. I put the open house rider on the property like almost immediately, so people know Saturday and Sunday it's there. So I kind of make a big hoopla about it. I mean, I don't have a flag, some people have flags all over. I don't have
Right.
that.
Right.
But I think I put the notice in on platforms where I think it's relevant and it matters, right? Because the big flag on the lawn is just going to flag neighbors, right?
Right.
So, and they're not bad either, but
Yep.
I'd rather get people cruising on Realtor. I'd rather get social media. I'd rather do those types of
Okay.
platforms as well. And if I have time, I'll let the neighbors know, knock on the door.
Yeah.
If I have
Yeah.
time. If I have to. I know I'm supposed to do that. If I have time.
Well, yeah, it's always a good thing to do for sure.
My
'Cause
coach
you're like,
tells me I need to do that.
yeah, right. So here, tell me this: when you, or if I ask it this way, like, and we talked about the transition and that idea of like not having to get up because of the alarm, but
Yeah.
getting up when you want to, but like getting up based on the fact that you run your own business, right? So,
Yeah.
when we look at that and go like, what's been the hardest thing about going out on your own to start a business and have to concentrate on literally so much more than like just showing up for work every day?
Yeah.
What's been the hardest thing about that?
That's a big one, and it's a real one, because remember, with my job, I just show up and get paid, right? Not
Yeah,
every
that's what I
day.
say all the time to
Not
people.
every day you're on, right? Some days you're on, some days you're not. Some days you don't want to talk to people. Some days you're whatever.
Yep.
But I just have to show up, right? It was
Yep.
easy. Some days. Now, what the struggle that I had transitioning was structure. Like, I'm a very structure bound person. I mean, I love flexibility. I think that's very important. I'm a spontaneous person by nature,
Right.
which sometimes makes me a little squirrely, right? Because I should be doing something, and I'm
Hey,
like,
over here.
but I want to do that, right? So the structure part of it was the hardest part, like just establishing that routine, right? So for a bit, I was waking up at 7, and I'm like, oh, 7, like the day's done for me. I need to be up at 5. So I had to kind of find my way and mindset, right? Like, I don't belong to a team, right? I'm a lone wolf. And sometimes that could be a lonely day if, you're not out with people, like, because I thrive on people. So that's also a challenge. Whereas with my other job, it was very social. I worked with amazing people, like I'm always chatting with somebody. So that was a bit of a struggle too.
So I was going to ask you about that. Like, talk to me more about the mindset side of things. Like, for anybody that, look, when let me say this, set the stage here a little bit. Like, we're entrepreneurs. We are very extroverted people for the most case, but there's, an introvert mentality that also happens, and there's got to have some part of it where, there's a lot of focus, and the fact that we've got a lot more to do because we're not just showing up. But then some days you show.
Oh, you're cutting out again. Cutting out again.
You gotta love live, eh?
We're back.
There we go. What I was saying was, again, that mindset of like it can get lonely, totally get lonely.
Yeah.
How does that? What kind of mindset? How do you keep the mindset strong in that regard? And I guess maybe that's the question, like for anybody, because I guarantee there's people tuned into this right now being like, yeah, that's right. What do you suggest to them in terms of like the kind of mindset that we need to have every single day?
Well, first off, I wake up early. I'm up at like 5, and have my coffee before the kids are up, kind of have my little, wake up time. Sometimes I read, sometimes I have my little mantra cards. I kind of get my mind in gear for the day. I already know what's happening in the day, kind of, sort of, because it's in my calendar. Go to the gym, right? So calendar, yes. Go to the gym. And so that kind of primes me, right? Either at the gym or a run. Like, I just don't dive into work. I book things. So I book if I'm going to do a property showing, or if I'm going to door knock, or calling I don't like to do. I'd rather door knock all day long. So I door knock because it's interacting with people. I'll meet with, some realtor friends, right? That's always a great way to that are also kind of lonely realtors. And we bounce ideas off each other and we
Mhm.
kind of collaborate a little bit. I'm just always trying to meet people even if they're like clients or if they're friends turned clients, always trying to have that interaction. I find that interaction at some point. I've got a great group of friends. So, that is super important for structure. That's a major outlet for me. And of course, my kids keep me busy, taking me to hockey and soccer and, all of that.
The
So
sports
there's
world for
a
sure.
lot of interaction there. So yeah, if I go a day without talking to anybody, like that is a sad, miserable day for me. And thankfully that hasn't happened. So I've been
But
good.
the
But
effort to go in and making the conversations is part of the whole
100%.
mindset thing. Is like, you've
Yes.
gotta, like, we could sit back and just wait for things to happen, and we could go sit, we can get out there
Yeah.
and make it happen. You're making
Yeah.
it happen, and that's part of the keeping the mindset sharp.
And I talk to everybody. Like
Right.
I talk to people at the restaurant. I'll talk to someone in an elevator. Like I talk to anybody,
So come back to the learning thing for a second.
hmm
You start the day with some learning, the gym you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, I look, from my message, like, I preach, like, read, like feed your brain, do it once a day, spend 30 minutes. You're obviously putting a lot of emphasis on it in a day. What would you say that it's done to help the mindset stay sharp? And, like, again, for anybody tuned in, that they sit there and they're like, and look, I'm going to say to everybody tuned in right now, I probably said this to you guys before, the fact that you tuned in, I want to say you're feeding your brain right now. And I
Yeah.
thank you for tuning into the Mindshare podcast. I would also say much the same. It's like, I don't get my day started until I sort of open up that book,
hmm
look at my goals. I want to know kind of like what is it that I want? Let me reframe myself, that every 24-hour kind of thing. And I just look at it as sort of my own secret advantage. Right?
hmm
Because it's like, if I'm resetting every 24 hours and you're barely resetting, well, guess who's going to win that race? You know what I
hmm
mean? That's kind of what I keep reminding myself of. But to me, it's important to feed the brain. It's important to
hmm
learn. So what would you say to anybody who's like, well, I don't have the time, or, well, I know, but, and they give you some sort of like excuse, like, why so important?
I love reading. I have like so many books on my night table. Sometimes I read three at a time because I squirrel out and I go back and forth, but I end up finishing them at some point. Um, like right now, I'm reading one called The Comfort Zone, and it is like
Yeah.
such a different way of thinking that it's like kind of got me stimulated a little bit because what are we taught our whole life, right? Everything's outside your comfort zone. And
Right.
this book's saying, no, it should be in your comfort zone. So it's a different
Oh,
perspective. And I'm like, that makes sense, right? So I'm always reading, whether it's entrepreneurial type books, whether it's real estate related books, whether it's self growth books, a book like that, just anything that I can take something away from. And like you said, it just fuels your mind. And I find like life gets a little stale. Well, maybe not stale. That's not maybe the right word, but your mind becomes stale when you're not kind of dumping things in that
mm-hmm,
basket.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
yeah, just even a couple of pages. I do a couple of pages in the morning. I do a couple of pages at night. I take my book with me thinking I'm going to read during the day. Like, what a joke. I don't have time, but I carry it with me with the intention. But yeah, that doesn't happen because I'm not on vacation. So, but I think it's so important. And you never know. You may get like aha moment, when you're reading something. So, I mean, I read one at the Atomic Habits. I didn't
Yep.
care for that book. I know it's a
Yep.
popular one, but
Yep.
for me, I didn't care for it. So I didn't finish reading it. But you have to find something that resonates with you and that you can finish. And I mean, there's a lot of wisdom in those books, and there's a lot of perspective that
You just
makes you
said it though, right? Like, comfort
alter.
zone. Like, we've been taught to stay outside of our comfort zone, right?
Yeah,
Go outside to have success. You're like, no,
yeah.
I'm reading that it's all in, and but
Why be
look,
uncomfortable
but there's
doing
nothing wrong with either side of those opinions. It's like,
it's
what are
not
you taking from it, and how are you
perspective?
processing that? Yeah,
Yeah,
and then how are you applying it? And
yeah,
that for me is why I push read,
yeah.
because
I think it's
Atomic
important.
Habits, very popular book. Whether
Yeah,
you liked it or didn't like it really
yeah.
doesn't matter. It's
It doesn't
like,
matter.
you sort of get a perspective, and then it's
Yeah,
like, okay, go read another one.
yeah.
And oftentimes, as you do a lot of reading, the other thing you probably find is a lot of very similar thought
Yes.
lines, but people say it in a different way. And this person resonated, but that person didn't. Yet they were probably teaching you the same thing.
Yeah.
Now
And if
you
you're
hear
doing
it.
it,
That's
if
it.
you're doing it, whatever the book said you're doing to do, I think it resonates with you more when you're like, oh, this is telling me to do the same thing. Well, maybe you should do it, right? So
as we talk about this stuff, then, if I said to you, like, outside of the books, like, and we sort of focus on the business that you're in, like, what's been your biggest learning moment about this business, from like maybe what you thought of before you got in to what you learned while you're there, or what's that biggest learning moment of like, oh my God?
Biggest learning moment. Well, you definitely have to be relevant.
Okay.
So you need to keep up with stuff. My challenge, for anyone that knows me, is technology. I hate it. It takes me forever to do anything. Even those videos are an all-day event. I know they look nice, fast, and
Did
cute.
I ever tell you the best way to fix technology?
They take me forever to do.
Did I ever tell you what the best way to fix it is?
Yeah, hire someone.
No. Well, no,
Oh,
find high ground and just drop it.
oh.
I mean, it doesn't really fix anything, but you feel better in the moment until you realize it's going to cost you money to go buy another one. But
I know that it's going to cost me more money.
I think about that every time it's like the Leafs lose and I've got like my phone in my hand and I'm like, I'm going to chuck it at my TV and I'm like, whoa, don't
You're
do
done.
that. Bad idea. I don't even know
Yeah.
why I brought up the Leafs. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, let's stay
So
relevant,
sorry.
which the Leafs are becoming irrelevant. Okay.
No. So biggest
So,
learning moment you were saying.
so I think it's just becoming relevant. It's just, I don't know what the big I mean, I knew what real estate was about, but it's just like, if you don't do something for like 3-4 days, say you get distracted, like I have an investment property now that I'm like in the middle of, coordinating trades, and I'm closing soon. And then it's like, I haven't called someone in 4 days. And I'm like, oh shit, it's hard to get back into it after. So that's hard because I have momentum every day. I'm like, okay, call 5 people, go door knocking, send an email, do a post. I got posts that I got to post and I haven't even done it because I'm too busy orchestrating this closing. So I think that is something that it'll go to consistency, but if you fall off that wagon, it's very hard to get back on the wagon. So and I'm very like committed, and I'm doing something. I'm not even sitting on a patio like having drinks. Like I'm actually doing other things that are important. So that I think is like a wow, like just 2 days, 3 days, if you don't do something, how far behind you become. And your mindset would get really screwed up because now you feel like, oh, I didn't call 5 people, my week's done. It's like, it's actually not done. But
and this is where we come up with a lot of those systems and that structure. Yes. And like, I say it all the time, and listen, I use it 110% for myself as well. It's like that discipline to continue to push and do. The reason I apply it every day, even when I don't want to, is because I know that it's going to set me up for the next day. So that even if I do wake up on the wrong side of the bed or have that conversation that didn't go the way I wanted it to, or whatever, it's like, yeah, you're busy, but like, here's your structure.
Yeah.
Stay focused, right? And it gets me back on the track. So like, what would you say to anybody then who just got started in the biz, or somebody who just wants to go next level? What maybe piece of advice would you give to them off that then, based on what that learning was?
Well, I mean, our number one job as realtors is to prospect and talk to people, right? So, I mean, there are days too where I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing today? And that's a really scary feeling to have because you need to do something. But if you plan it all out, like today I'm gonna, door knock like a street. I'm gonna print out 30 flyers or door hangers or letters, and I'm not leaving until I give these 30 letters. That's easy. Doesn't take you much to just walk for 30 doors, right? Knock on the door, introduce yourself, whatever. Call 5 people in your database. Like if you write those things down every single day, it's not going to take much thought energy. Like you just look, 5 people. Oh, I'm calling, So I think the most important thing is like the planning for sure. 100%. Write it down because the next day you might have it all in your brain, but then the next day you'll wake up and you're lost. And then, the day still runs, and the worst feeling is feeling that unproductive day where you just blew the day away.
Right. So
that is horrible.
What about when it comes to prospecting then? What's something that you might say, I wish I knew that sooner?
Door knocking's not that bad.
Okay. Told you all.
I like door knocking.
Said it.
I don't know. And I've met people on the street and they talk to me after. I end up having sometimes I have to cut the conversation short because we end up talking for so long. And I'm like, well, that took up 20 minutes of my time. And they'll say to me, you don't really seem like the type that, needs to door knock. And I'm like, I like door knocking. Look, I just met you. Like, it's fabulous. So It is. And you know what? Thankfully, I've never had anybody like slam a door on my face. Probably because I go up so smiley. Like, I think
Yeah.
they'd actually feel like shit if they did. But you know, if you go up with a good disposition, it'll be fine. Like, it's just a person at the door. And, you know, and if you're feeling off that day, like it's just not right. And you'll know, like, I've had the intention of going door
For
knocking,
sure.
and I started walking, and maybe I got a couple of like, you know, people open the door. They weren't very pleasant, or nobody was answering the door. I just didn't, I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm gonna do this. And I'll go home and I'll just end up calling people. Like, it's just not my day, because I think you'll emit that vibe and
Yeah.
you'll give off
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
energy.
The energy.
So just call it a day and do it, you know, when the sun's shining or something, when you feel
Okay.
better.
So what we wish we knew sooner was that door knocking wasn't that
It's
bad.
not that bad. No,
I'm going to
I enjoy
reinforce it
door knocking.
again.
I've
Like,
met a ton of people.
yeah,
Yes.
99% of the people that do it, and it's only about 4% of the people that I've asked actually do it. So that the percentage of people doing it is very, very small.
Yeah.
But 99% of them say they see business. So as somebody might sit here listening to that, being like, there's no way in hell. Yo, that's okay. You don't have to. The fact of the matter is it works. And I hear it from more than 9 out of 10 people who do it, that it works. And so that's why I don't waver from it. And I say to everybody, like, get out there and do it. Now, I would say the same thing then and ask you a different question and go, what are the people who, I guess maybe the people just coming into the business now, okay? And I'm talking just you're new to the business. What are they like so wrong about? Like, if they have like this type of mindset, it's just not going to work out in this business.
If you think people are going to call you and somehow they magically know that you exist, then you're going to be waiting a very long time for your phone to ring. So you need to like get your social media up, because whether you like it or not, it's just what it is. I've met so many people on Instagram, so many people on Facebook that ended up being clients of mine. Ended up having a great professional relationship. Like, there's normal people on social media, and you know, not everyone that's messaging you is a creep. Like, there's normal people. And it just gets the interaction going. Like, I'll post, you know, a friend's house, or, you know, another realtor in my office, a property, and I'll have people asking me about the property. Well, now, like, they're asking because they're a potential buyer, right? So
Right.
it's not my listing, but I could have the buyer side. And then now you've just interacted. And if you ask the right questions and if you engage that person properly, that could be a potential client as a buyer. So you have to even treat your Facebook, your LinkedIn, all your social channels, you have to treat them almost like a little mini CRM, like a little database, you know, because it's not just the door knocking. Like, you can't be just like a one trick pony, right? You got to have different outlets and nurture all these different outlets. So if nothing at all, just start an Instagram page. You know, if you're still not comfortable with just show your face, right? Not doing automated, you know, little videos and stuff, because no one cares about that. I know I get a lot more engagement on my posts when it's me and video and whatever, rather than me just posting something. Huge engagement, huge difference. It's like you don't even not even noticeable when you just do a post.
Would you say that you're posting? I got to word this properly. Would you say the posting is more important than the conversations? The conversations are more important than the posting. One is more important than the other. They both go hand in hand. Like, if you had to choose one, what would it be? I guess what I'm doing is jumping off this for a second here for anybody, because I think it's a good point, right? I think that one, you can't be a one trick pony.
No.
I think door knocking's great, and it's an in-person thing.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that as much as social media has become a serious distraction for many people, there are some very, powerful ways, productive ways to use it if done properly.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned is that posting is one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations are completely different. And
Yeah,
this is
you
why
have to
they call it
converse.
social media. So you can be social
Totally.
with people, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, when you're going through, are you, hey, nice puppy? Hey, where are you? Like, are you just posing questions to even some random people that like
posing questions? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to
it.
be fake about it, because I don't have time for that either. But I mean, if someone is like somewhere and they didn't put where they are, I'm like, that looks amazing. Where is that? I don't know. It's just a simple question. I mean, I know them, but they're on my thing. And then they'll reply back, oh, I'm in so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Are you on a cruise? but I'm just a normal talker. So for
Yeah,
me, it's
yeah.
easy. But back to your question about is posting more important or engaging. So they're both important, but you can't just post and then go away for the entire day,
Good
because
point.
I'm not a technology person by no means, but something about the algorithm, I don't think it does anything for you unless it's like it's going to think you're a robot. So you have to, I mean, if you don't like talking to people, then maybe you're in the wrong profession. I don't know, but you need to interact with people. But I do it
Absolutely.
naturally because, like, if someone's birthday's there or someone's dad's birthday, I just happy birthday to your dad. I don't know, it takes 2 seconds, right? And then it's reciprocal. People know that you exist. Oh, Carla. Oh, so if they've missed all your posts inadvertently, they'll know that you're kind of still there because you've commented on something. And when people are posting, let's be honest, they want you to like their stuff and they like you to comment their stuff. That's why they're posting,
Yeah.
so
So engage,
you
reciprocate.
have to engage.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So switching gears from that, from the marketing and stuff. Well, no, I'd say it's probably goes kind of hand in hand, but and we mentioned this off the top when I introduced you, and I obviously know these things, but you're involved in giving back,
Yeah.
and you've got, and again, I know from local sports teams, the hockey teams, the soccer teams, you get very involved with that stuff. You do some really cool stuff at the fields. Like I know you get people to just be there, social, right?
Hmm.
The college Montrose Children's Place. And again, I know that there's a variety of other community initiatives that you've either done, partaken in, or are concocting, to sort
Yes.
of go forward, which I love, right? And just,
Hmm.
I guess that, the big question, why?
Because it's interactive. So funny story, really quick. So the
Yeah.
CMCP, I actually door knocked and I met the director.
CMCP, College Montrose Children's Place.
Yes.
Got you. Yeah, yeah.
So I met the director while door knocking,
At the
and
director's house.
I knocked her
Oh, that's
house.
so funny.
So she's like,
And you didn't,
talk.
hold on, sorry. And you didn't know that that was her house.
No, I just knocked my farm area.
Sidebar for a
You
quick
never know who
moment.
you're going to meet.
Honest,
Yes.
I'm telling you now, I had a conversation with somebody this morning. So I've been talking about the mastermind and like, wouldn't it be cool to interview Shaq? Right. And I've been throwing that out there.
Yeah.
People like, wouldn't it be cool? And like, I've got a buddy of mine who's done exactly that, and a lot of other high profile people. Anyways, I'm talking to him on the phone this morning, and I don't know if you saw my story. I put this out there today, but I was like, talking to
Oh, you're cutting out again.
uh,
Mm.
one second. Man, this like we have had this before. I'll tell you now. We've had it maybe once,
Oh my God.
3 times in a show. This is brutal. Anyways, what I was saying was I'm on the phone with him and he's doing this like Mother's Day special. They had to pre-record early. And at some point he drops it. He's like, yeah, I'm interviewing Shaq's mom and Vince Carter's mom. I'm like, Shaq's
Wow.
mom, Vince Carter's mom. He's like, yeah. And first, all that I could think to myself is, how do you come in contact with these people? And what ended up happening was he kept talking about something. He's like, dude, you have no idea. You could be walking down the street, down the city of Toronto. You could be walking by somebody. You could be walking by like LeBron James's agent, and you'd never know it.
Hmm.
So I guess the reason I brought that up is like, you never know who you're going to
You got
meet.
to get out there.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
cut you off on that, but that was kind of the point. Which I'm like, you never know who you're going to meet or bump
You
into.
never know.
Sometimes we put up the biggest roadblocks, like, oh, I don't know how I would ever do that. You just said it. Go talk to people.
Yeah. You talk to people, you don't know who you're going to meet. And so we had this great conversation at the door, and she told me, what she did and where she worked from. And she invited me to, go there and meet the families. And it's actually in my old neighborhood as well, like at Ossington and Bloor. So that's like my hood. And I was young families and just talk about real estate. So yeah, so that's how I got into that. And I do donate to them yearly. I'm a contributor. And every quarter I go there and I buy pizza or coffee or whatever. And we do like an invite thing. So I kind of know who my numbers are. And I've got families with their kids and they do like a little lunch and learn and they ask me questions about real estate and I just tell them what the market's going on. And I'm just meeting people. And you never know, right? I mean, you're not going to sell a house at every interaction you have with someone, but that's not what the business is about. Business is about building those relationships, right? For long term and longevity. So, yeah, I enjoy it. It's different for sure. And it makes me feel good at the end because I see where my dollars and cents are going, right, to a community, and I'm meeting these families and I'm helping them, giving them guidance and see where it goes. Like I don't really have any expectations. I go to go.
That everything takes time.
Yeah.
And when we think about how much time we actually do or don't have in a day, to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to make time to go essentially give back, get
Mm-hmm.
involved in my community, be a positive influence on people that may need it more than others, even sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
We always ask, where to get the time or how, but that's why it was like, why? Because I think the deeper meaning to that, the deeper part, which is what you just explained about giving back, about being involved, about helping people, like that for me is what the big part of, you know, fulfillment is, happiness
Mm-hmm.
is, joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is really being able to be there and help others kind of accomplish. Because let's go back to what you said a few minutes ago there too. Like it can be a really lonely business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're by yourself and you're doing you. And if you're always by yourself doing you, focused on you, that's all you're really ever focused on. But the minute you do focus on others and look to help others and all that positivity, it's just incredible how it really, the universe brings it back in
For
spades. And,
sure.
and I mean, I think that's the coolest thing. So,
100%. Yeah.
um, I want to kind of switch gears here a little bit, if I can, for a few minutes. So probably, I don't even know, a year ago, 2 years ago now. I'd have to like check the notes, but you decided it was time to hire a coach. And I wanted to kind of just throw it out there and maybe not get into the depths of like what we were struggling with or like exactly what wanted to be solved. But I think it's I guess what I'm trying to do is get into that mindset there of like, what was going on in the mind prior to doing that? Like, what was it that almost got us to that point of going, I know I'd like to get some help, or I know I'd like to have somebody to talk to about something, or whatever, the thought process was. But then there's like that next step of, I got to make the leap. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we talk to a ton of people on a regular basis that might say, yeah, like I want to do that, or I know I need to. And then people won't pull the trigger. And again, I come back
Mm-hmm.
to you, right? As we started off the top today, your drive, your determination. Like to me,
Mm-hmm.
without even having to ask you, I kind of get it just as like you, the personality,
Mm-hmm.
why you did it. But I'm just curious, maybe kind of making it on a spin from like anybody who's sitting there going like, thought about it, I'm thinking like
Mm-hmm.
what made you decide to like take that step?
Well, I mean, like you said, I do have the motivation and the drive. So I don't need help in that aspect of it because
Right.
I am self-motivated and everything I've done so far has been on my own. So but you reach a point where, you think about it and you're like, am I missing something? To get to that next level. And, I came to realize when I was contemplating it that, like all-star athletes have coaches, right? Do they need them? Probably not. There's super top real estate top producers that have coaches. So I think everybody needs well, I'm not going to say everyone needs, but I think there's a place for a coach because number one, it's accountability. I'm like, I know he's going to ask me how many calls I made. I know he's going to look at my sheet and I'm like, I need to call people, right? So there's accountability, right? There's, I mean, with you, like if I have like, cause my brain spins like a mile a minute every hour of the day. So if I wake up with a thought and this is what I want to do, I think like, for you, cause we're talking about you, you kind of break down that process, right? So again, you're like the mortgage broker. Okay, I want to do this, but how do I get from here to here, right? So you're the guy, right? I'm gonna text, and you're
Okay.
very,
Yeah.
very good at texting back, right? So, so the coach is really helpful in those situations where, okay, you have the ideas. It's not like I lack ideas, but I just don't know how to put them in motion, or what is that going to look like, or should I even bother doing that, or you know this came back this way, like what the hell, right? So I think it's instrumental, and I think it's part of any professional space. I think everybody has a coach, right? That I've come to learn, anyways. Like I said, athletes have coaches, singers have coaches. I'm sure J Lo's got a coach somewhere.
Oh
Everyone's
my
got a
God,
coach.
right? Like you figure.
Everyone's got a coach.
But it's true though. Like you look at it, you think about the most professional, I mean, the biggest stars out there in terms of athletes, they've got coaches.
Yeah.
You know,
They
you
got
think
coaches.
about musicians, they got coaches. You think about celebrity, like I mean, yeah, like we see it everywhere, right?
Yes.
And it's just it's having somebody there to like you said though, push you, motivate you, hold you accountable, make sure you're doing the things you need to be doing. Like all that is what I think helps any of us get to our next level.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Because you can ask your friends, and you can, but it's different. They're all good. They're gonna think you're wonderful if you have good friends. My friends think I'm
Okay,
amazing.
you know, it's funny you say that because I've said that too. It's like you go talk to a friend of yours, and they're gonna, you're like,
They're gonna
but you
think
talk to
you're
somebody who's like
fabulous.
got a vested interest in like your productivity, and that is a different conversation,
Different.
right? That is
Different.
like pure bare bones. So, okay, so you're in
It's
this
next
thought
level.
of like, I'm gonna do this. What was your
Yeah.
next step in your process? And I'm not curious of like for me, but I'm saying for anybody that's again kind of on that fence, what steps could they take to go and again, this is not a like let's promote me. This is
Mhm.
a
Yeah, fair
what
enough.
steps could anybody take to
Fair
like
enough.
maybe kind of go down that road of going, what should I do to start my search? Where should I look? Do I just go
Yes.
online? Do I talk to a friend? Is talking to a friend the right thing to do for this type of thing? Like, what's your thoughts?
No, so that's not the
Okay.
right way.
Okay.
For me, again, I find ways, right? I'm always finding. I'm very resourceful. So you have to be resourceful. And again, that's the business that we're in, right? So you got to be able to find stuff that no one else can find.
Right.
So what I started doing right off the hop,
That's a
even
great
before
point.
connecting with you, is I started listening to podcasts. I don't remember who else I was listening to, but I listened to a bunch of different, podcasts, right? While I was running. Some were good, some were okay, whatever. And then I stumbled on yours. So I kept listening to yours, and then you had different guests on there, and then I would follow them. Like, so I kind of, again, I do everything strategically. I don't jump in.
That is so cool because now you're here on the show. Like, I
I
think
know, and I
that is just a
never
cool
thought
spot
in
to
a
start the
million.
journey. That is wicked.
I was like, wow, that's so cool. And you've had some like high
Yeah, we've been lucky. We've been really lucky.
I commend you for that. Yes. So
Thank you.
anyway, so I was listening to your podcast for a very long time. And, I'm like everybody else, you kind of throw money, and you're like, you don't really know where you're going to throw it and if it's going to stick. Right. So I'm like, I'm not rushing into anything, because I did coaching with another, remain nameless, but it was like, I wasn't getting anywhere.
Okay.
And so it was like for a year. And I was just like, I felt like it was just a blah, 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 blah. Like I took over the call. Like, I was like, can you believe that?
No.
So I left there going like, okay, what happened? Nothing. All right. So I was like, forget that. And so I was listening to your podcast for a very, very long time. And I was like, I was gaining so much out of the podcasts from your guests and from the information that I was like, okay, if I'm getting all this for free, like imagine what you'd get if it was paid, right? So that's kind of my mindset. And then I would share your podcast. I was like the biggest sharer, right? So, so that's how. And then I thought, okay, you know what? Let me give him a call. But at that point, I was already convicted in my mind of where I was, because remember, I was like, it's already in my mind, right? I've already done my little feelers, and then I'm like, okay, we're gonna go full, and let's just do it. So that's how we ended up here. And cool. I'm on a podcast.
No, I know. I think that's just a very cool story. Now, okay, so the decision, like how you found us and the decision to work with us, which again, very grateful. Thank you. And it's been so far just an awesome journey. It's been really, really cool to be alongside it. In terms of the conversations, like you mentioned the conversations, you mentioned like the text line, like in terms of the conversations from call to call, maybe can you give people insights into like what the experience is like not what we talk about, but like that, just what could people expect from that maybe?
Well, you need to do your tasks, right? They're not going to get done on their own.
Oh yeah.
yeah, like you need to get them done because I mean, you can have all the coaching in the world, pay all the money in the world, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then I don't think you're a unicorn with a magic wand that's just going to be bring deals to people's doors, right? Like you have to
Right.
put in the work.
Yeah.
So you can expect to be giving them a plan, right? Like a marketing plan, like that was super helpful for me, a business plan, because I have everything in my head. I don't have it
Right.
written down, right? And then, when it's in your head, it kind of comes and goes.
Right. But we brought
So
that all to life and like put that
so
down.
we brought it all to
Yeah.
life, the business plan, the marketing plan. I do the kits as well, which is amazing. And in terms of like dollar wise, it like I did do another company, which I'm also not gonna name.
Nope.
I
Yep.
did another company and dollar for dollar, like it's worth it like all day long. The calendars, I got calls from it. It was great. So the marketing aspect is fantastic. So it's almost like a whole system. Like it's a nicely tucked in system that all complements each other. So I think for anyone listening, yeah, like it's totally worth exploring for sure.
Very cool. And the text line you mentioned earlier was you find that that's got some good value to
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Because I mean, you don't want to wait a week and a half to ask a question that's happening like right now, right? So even though you don't answer right away, it's almost like, and you don't expect to, obviously, but at least it's there. It's out
Mhm.
of my head. It's there. And when you get the answer back, then you don't have to wait that extra like 2 days, 2 weeks,
Right.
or whatever it
Yeah,
is for your
cool.
next call.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and thank you for sharing that. Like, so if anybody's on the fence about coaching, and I guess you shared that with them, I think that one of the big messages there, and again, I'm going to say to all of my listeners, and I thank you again for tuning in regularly. Whether it's me, it's our company, it's somebody else, I think that the aspect of having somebody there in your corner, somebody that really cares about your success and helping you get to that place, and somebody you can jive with. That's what you need to look for. If that's us, if you want to have an explore call, let's do it. But again, my bigger push to everybody right now is, if you've thought about it, if you told yourself you should, do it. Like stop waiting and do it, whether again it's with us or anybody else. Like make that leap because Carla, would you agree with me? Like that's it's a big leap for us in business to kind of go, okay, how do I get to my next stage?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, you reach a level where you're like, okay, I've done everything that I can do. Like, am I missing something else? Like, is it, like we
Mhm.
all reach that plateau. We're like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, but nothing's really happening. So it's like, well, maybe you should be doing it a different way, or why don't you try doing this or that? So, and that's where like you would come in, right? My friends are gonna, well, I mean, my friends are amazing. They'll give me ideas, but you'll give it because you do talk to other realtors, you do talk to other professionals, and um, whether you're in sales or whether you're real estate or whether you're, I don't know, a banker. I mean, we all have different ways of connecting with people because at the end of the day that's the common denominator, is connecting with people regardless of
Right.
the industry that you're in. And sometimes those ideas, because some people are so narrow minded, like you have to do it this way, whereas if you because you interact with so many other professionals, you may have something else in your back pocket that you share because it came out in another interview or a friend or whatever. So you kind of, it gives you different ideas.
Look, this comes back to the feeding the brain, like we talked about
Mhm.
before, and just trying to stay sharp and the mindset and everything else, and the path to success. So, that brings me to this question of, it's the end of the day for you. You've gone through, you've done everything you need to do. You know, you're calling it a day, basically, and now it's the look back or the thoughts. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Um, I like having a bunch of things making it a successful day for me. One is always involving people. So if I had an interaction with somebody, if I met somebody, if I was able to help, if I can give someone guidance, if I motivated somebody and they let me know that, something simple. It doesn't have to like, it's not like if I sold a house, like that's like takes you forever to do that, right? But just
Right.
simple everyday things. Like if I affected somebody in a positive way that made them turn the direction or gave them some food for thought. I mean, for me, that's a great day. Interacting, right? Anything to do with people. And of course, my kids. Like if I, steal some time to do something with them, I'm at home with them, I'm doing homework, with my daughter or my son. I'm watching a hockey game with him and watching him skate. I don't know, those little things too. That makes it a very wholesome day, and that's what I'm grateful for, is those little moments. It's not the big things; it's always the little things.
Again, something we all need to really,
Hmm.
really internalize.
Yeah.
So, give us some final words. Anything that you want to share with anybody that will help them get out there, stay stronger from a mindset perspective. Of course, build the mind share so that they get more market share. Just some parting words here for all of our listeners today.
Well, I think the biggest thing is everything really is on the other side of fear. Fear of failure, fear of what people are going to think, fear of, what people are going to say if you do this versus that. And that's really background noise that's hindering your ability to move forward and propel. And I think you really need to live for you, not what society tells you to do, not what your family is expecting you to do. But if you feel it and your head can conceive it, then you can make it happen. And you'll find that way, because where there's a will, there's a way. And if you make excuses, then you never really wanted it to begin with.
Great, great advice. Where can people find you if anyone wants to connect with you after this show?
Oh, I'm everywhere. Instagram, Corsi Properties GTA, Facebook, Carla Corsi, my website, carlacorsi.com, phone numbers there, and I'm everywhere. Yeah, Twitter, everywhere.
Awesome. I want to encourage everybody, definitely check her out, follow her on Instagram. And again, you can punch in Carla Corsi, check her out online. Definitely has an awesome social media presence. You do some great stuff with video. I know how much you care about your clients and how hard you work. So I would encourage anybody that is in the industry to connect as a maybe networking opportunity, as well as anybody else that beyond that might be looking for some assistance. Carla is absolutely awesome, and I can definitely vouch for the fact that she is a very, very hard worker. So,
Thank
Carla,
you.
thank you. It's been an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure having you on the show today.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you
Pre-
so much for having me. I'm
Appreciate all
so
the time.
honored.
You bet.
Okay.
You are either watching us live, maybe you're watching us on your favorite podcast platform. You might be tuned in elsewhere. Hey, maybe you went to our website, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, I just want to remind you, grab your copy of our 31-page ebook called The Ultimate Marketing Bundle. It's got a 90-day social media content calendar in there, all of it to help you build more mindshare so that you get more market share. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote for your upcoming event, and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with our team. We'll set up a consultation call, learn about what you're looking to achieve and how we will help you do just that. Also, make sure that you get registered for our Mindshare Mastermind live in person, taking place on May 29th and 30th in Toronto. This is going to be 2 very powerful days of collaboration, networking, and problem solving. I want to remind you, don't forget to leave a review of the podcast, www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Of course, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to take a quick moment here to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring the Mindshare podcast today. REM Real Estate Magazine for sponsoring the Mindshare podcast today. Be sure to visit our site to learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.